What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special Friday edition of the Wrestling Junkies Podcast, the 150th episode of the Wrestling Junkies Podcast. I'm Eric, Mr. Cincinnati Robinson. As always, I'm joined by not only the podcast dad himself, Chris Hoops, but we also have King Chris in the house. Gentlemen, how are we? It's been a long time since we've gotten together like this. How are you?
I'm great. I'm living the best life as the king. The king has the best life, and I like to think that I give my kingdom and everybody around me the best life if possible. So it's sunny out,
Sorry, I had to do it.
This is my kingdom, so I'm having a great time. The podcast dad, you doing all right?
Yeah, my cat just bit me. Sorry. It's it's going well. That about sums up my Friday today. So I'm ready to talk some wrestling.
Anyway, as always, thank you to everybody joining us on this stream today. As always, hit that QR code in the top left corner. Like, share, subscribe. Help us to grow this community. We have great videos damn near every day. We've got great interviews. Thanks again to Shaw Mason and Vogan for joining us this week. You can check those out over at our YouTube channel right now. New Something Smarts are coming. I promise. There's just, yeah, I got to find the time.
How much we pay that man, and you can't even get his content out. Come on now. Come on.
You want to do it?
He's gonna tell you about it. You know he is.
Yeah, well, he can. Yeah, well, okay, all right, fine, whatever, no big deal. And then anyway, support our merch store. Make sure to get a T-shirt, get a hoodie, get a mug. We, I think that both of us have just recently finally gotten our all of our sets of Junkies merchandise set up. So yeah, I'm ready to try on that hoodie. That's for sure. And I know you're ready to try out your mug.
I am. I need it. It's not here quite yet, but I need it.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, my dad got a sweatshirt and he says it's very comfortable, so I think we're in for a treat.
Ooh,
so
I do love me a good hoodie.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Yeah.
And it's gonna have like something successful on it, so that's good.
I was gonna say I love that blueberry blue Sixers hoodie that you got on over there. Winning culture, trust the process.
What do you know about that, Eric?
I really wish that just one episode.
King Chris, what's on your shirt?
You can.
Eric, shut up.
Oh, it's just I'll stand up a little bit. I got this.
That is pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
The King made his journey over to Philadelphia, the link where champions play, and I thought, why not get a shirt that represents a championship, a championship culture, a championship event, once in a lifetime experience with a once-in-a-lifetime franchise. It just married the two. So that's why I thought I should purchase this shirt.
Forgot how damn tall you are. I've known you 10 years. I forgot how tall you are.
I know.
But, anyway, gentlemen, as we put a bow on WrestleMania, we've had the last 2 weeks of WrestleMania exclusive coverage. We figured there's no better way to ring in 150 episodes by, again, talking to the King because he was at WrestleMania. But before we kind of get into the King's experience at the show of shows, we do have a couple of clips that we want to show. Throughout the week, during last WrestleMania week, we had some friends of the Main Event Network and the podcast dad put together some of their favorite WrestleMania moments. So without further ado, this is the podcast son from the On the Mark podcast. Yeah, I'm starting with him. I'm saving the best for last. Don't read into it, but
I'm excited.
Roll the footage. Roll footage.
What's up, everybody? I am the podcast son, Ian Garvalia, just one of the three hosts of the On the Mark Wrestling podcast. And our Main Event Wrestling Network brothers in the Wrestling Junkies have asked us what our favorite Mania moments have been throughout the years. And with me being such a young fan, I figured it'd be best if I chose a moment I was able to watch live. And there's always been this one moment that really sparked me, and it kind of sparked my emotional investment into wrestling. It was pure wrestling, beautiful storytelling, and that was Kofi Mania, a little event we saw at WrestleMania 35 in 2019. It was a beautiful retelling of the Daniel Bryan story, the underdog B-plus player, and funny enough, Kofi Kingston was able to gain that title opportunity against the man himself, Daniel Bryan. He had to fight through Vince McMahon. He had to fight through gauntlet matches against guys that have been the main event players for so long now. And it was all by happenstance, too, as he was able to get an opportunity at a title shot against Daniel Bryan because Mustafa Ali got hurt. That's really all it was. And the fans started backing him up. and it really evolved into what we now know as Kofi Mania. And again, the culmination at WrestleMania 35 was beautiful. He brought his children into the ring. Obviously, the New Day got into the ring after he won the title. But again, we won't talk about when Brock Lesnar defeated him for that championship in 8 seconds. But in all, Kofi Mania was beautiful, and it should be remembered always. But yes, Kofi Mania was my favorite WrestleMania moment. What is yours?
Well said, Ian. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's one of those ones that's going to be for the ages when you see a guy like Kofi finally get that opportunity after 10 plus years with the company and had that chance to carry the banner, albeit disappointing end to the reign, but forever in our hearts, Kofi Mania will always exist. So here's Kofi.
Cheers to Kofi. Speaking of Mustafa Ali,
I'm glad you said that.
Eric, I think we have an event coming up.
We do. Action Wrestling celebration of 6 years, April 26th. Mustafa Ali taking on Landon Hale in the main event, Tyrone, Georgia. We are going to be there, and we're going to be ready to party, man. It's going to be a great weekend.
And remind me again, who is going to be on the show with us next week?
Oh, that's right. The good doc himself, Landon Hale, will be joining us to talk about not only his match coming up, but his trip over to WXW in Germany and set up Thailand Pro Wrestling. Mustafa Ali's been on his own world tour, and it's been awesome. But the good doc has also been on his own world tour. And if I could give a little bit of advice to Mustafa Ali, watch your back.
Bring that title too. Let's have an X Division title match. Come on, TNA.
Speaking of TNA,
man, I am a transition machine.
You are doing really, really well today. Champagne Singh will be joining us next week. This will be a fun interview with him. Cannot wait to have a conversation. One of the great standouts of this new TNA revolution that we are seeing on our TV screens right now. But I've done enough talking. I'm going to turn things over to the King. You went to WrestleMania. We can say that we've never gone to WrestleMania. So let's start by asking you, when did you make the decision that you were going to go?
So once it was, obviously I watch WrestleMania every year. And, well, hell yeah, I like that for a couple different reasons. But I made the decision watching WrestleMania when it was in LA, the Hollywood WrestleMania 39, and saw 40 was coming up. And I instantly saw the green and saw the bell. And living in New Jersey at the time, I was like, there's a no-brainer. I need to go. In this area, I've always wanted to go. This is the show of shows, and I need to make that investment. When I moved to Connecticut, still close, still kept in touch with my Jersey friends, and they kept me. And I saw the countdown on WWE's Twitter saying 2 days, 1 day till tickets go on sale. So when tickets went on sale, you better believe I was ready in the queue, ready to go. Did we sit together? No. I think I told the story that I'm trying to convince my wife to start watching, and what better show to take her to than the greatest show in the calendar year, and with all the stories that could potentially come. So she immediately said, yeah, I'll go. You enjoy it. I want to see you enjoy it, and maybe I'll learn something. I tried to convince her through club tickets because, try to sweeten the deal a little bit. So she's like, all right, yeah, let's go. So I pulled the trigger. The two tickets, WrestleMania night 2. Okay. I didn't go for the all-night pass. Too expensive, A, and B.
Yeah.
I knew night 2 was going to be the one. Roman Reigns was going to keep the title, I felt, and I just wanted to see that title match, whatever he was going to put on. And it just so happened this happened to be one of the greatest cards of all time for a night 2 or a night of WrestleMania. But about a month in, she looked at her schedule and said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't go. I can't take off Monday, and making that trip back would be tough. So I ended up calling one of my friends from Seton Hall and sold it at a discounted rate to him and said, look, nice. I paid this. I want you to go with me. Let's go. So that's when I decided to make the trigger. As soon as I learned it was going to be in Philly.
Love it.
Yeah.
So any of the experiences, any of the ancillary events?
So we were going to, then I saw the traffic going into the world and the parking or lack of parking, A, in Philly to begin with, but B, the lack of parking around the convention center. And I was thinking about it. I was going to get into Philly around like 1:30 ish, and $60 trying to find parking for another 30 minutes too. I wanted to be in my seat ready to go when the gates.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it for me. I wanted to go, but the ticket would have been a little too much to justify at that point. I already knew I was going to buy a ton of merch at WrestleMania, so I didn't want to have to pay there, lug it over there. Where am I going to park? So unfortunately, I did not. I drove by it, and the complex in the convention center looked awesome. You walk in, or you're driving around that area, and you see people with the medium gold belt. You see people with the Phillies belt, the Eagles championship belt. I saw a hardcore title belt. I never thought I would see those in real life. A lot of winged eagles, women's SmackDown titles, like everything that you would expect, you saw. And that really got me excited to go park and just look at what the parking lot was like.
What would you say was like your favorite like fan interaction that you had during that day?
So this goes into me parking. So I park right on the other side of Wells Fargo, and it's the C lot, only $35. I was expecting like $60 to park in Philly for this kind of event. And it was a short walk to Xfinity Live. But as you park, you see people putting up tents and like starting to tailgate. So with that, you're not hearing like normal music at a tailgate. You're hearing wrestling themes, and they're drinking to wrestling themes. So the guy I parked next to has a 7-foot cutout of Roman Reigns, and his theme is just on a loop. That's all he's doing. So anybody that's walking by, we have to give them the ones, and they make sure to acknowledge the tribal chief, and we have to he made me get on a knee and acknowledge the tribal when I got out of my car. So that's when I park. So when I'm walking towards Xfinity, you see there's this giant grass area. There's other parking lots, tables set up, and you see impromptu matches between fans. So they are literally suplexing each other in the parking lot. They're putting each other through tables. Random people are coming up as refs and counting them out. There's no putting over in these, by the way. Nobody's going over. It's always 1-2, or that. It's great. I saw somebody take a chair shot to the head. That was great. And then, so that's just walking into Xfinity. So when you walk into Xfinity, it's this giant bar, TVs everywhere, and they have a giant big screen, and they were showing at the time the women's national championship. But they don't have sound on. They have the old Raw theme playing when I walk in, and then after that they play Beautiful People by Marilyn Manson. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay here and just vibe out a little.
I like it.
So we're watching that, and I'm going up to the bar at Xfinity. I look to my left, there's a guy with a Smoking Skull title belt, and I'm like, oh, that's an awesome title belt. Where are you guys from? It's like, oh, I'm from Compton. And people from LA, he's like, we save up every year to come to WrestleMania, and just learn about them. Awesome. I stand next to a guy from Columbia, South Carolina, so he's really into WrestleMania, but he's watching the title game right now. Next to me on the other side was people from Chicago. Just getting to talk wrestling with people who appreciate it and all are there for the same exact reason and so excited to the amount that you are. It was intoxicating. For sure. It was amazing.
Yeah. And I think that we've got a clip of the Xfinity Lounge here. Let me take.
One of the most surreal moments of my life. Just so before that, I'll rewind it a little bit. We're at a little seating area. All of a sudden, the DJ in Xfinity says, "Everybody, take out your phones." I'm like, "What?" Everyone takes out their phones. We think we're putting up lights for Bray Wyatt, that sort of thing. He said, "All right, everybody, turn around and look upstairs. There's a radio station." See a guy with white hair just sitting down. All of a sudden, da, 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 and then he gets up and does the little thing and gives a woo, and everybody's going nuts. And then he comes down, clearly hammered, and just starts ranting, and they need to take the microphone away from him after that. But it was great just seeing Ric Flair in person. He's shorter than you would think, but again, that clip just speaks for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And welcome to everybody that is watching here tonight. Again, episode 150. We greatly appreciate everybody that has stopped by to join us tonight. If you're just now joining us, King Chris has spent night 2 at WrestleMania. He had a seat for the greatest moment probably in the history of WrestleMania. Let's talk a little bit about your experience at the show here. You had some pretty solid seats here. We've got another clip we'll load up in a second, but just tell us what you're feeling about that atmosphere that, once you're actually in the stadium and that show's going.
Like, I hate to do what the final boss does, but we got right there. I'm getting chills thinking about it because just, again, I mentioned it in Xfinity, being around people who want to be there and appreciate the moment. You definitely felt that when you walked in and sat down. Like, people, I don't think I saw a person with a straight face. Like, everybody was smiling. Everybody was so excited to be there.
That's cool.
And you just heard like analysis fantasy booking in a concession line, that sort of thing. I convinced my friend to buy a $250 signed Cody Rhodes belt. He doesn't have that money, but I convinced him to do it. That's my negotiation skills I learned at Chase.
There you go.
Then it was just, you can feel in the atmosphere something special was going to happen from the moment that America the Beautiful started. He was like, tonight's the night. Like, I'm not paying attention.
So we went to SummerSlam, and that was it at Ford Field. It was a stadium show, but it was not sold out. The link was sold out. How does that differ from like a sports event inside of a stadium? Like you said, like the atmosphere. How does it feel different?
It feels different because a majority of the people, I could just talk for Eagles is different because everybody there is really rooting for the Eagles. Because if you're an opposite team fan, you are going to die. But at other venues, there's usually some fans that are of the other team and will leave unhappy because the team lost. Here, everybody was there for one reason: to watch professional wrestling and to watch these moments. And there just seemed like a camaraderie throughout the entire stadium. And you get that at Eagles games where everybody's just chanting the EAGLES, a couple chants during the show. I was really excited about that. But it was different in the fact that everybody was there for the same reason. Everybody was there for a great time, and everybody left not disappointed. They all had the same experience.
Love that.
Awesome.
Love that.
Awesome.
So let's see. I do have a clip here of your sheet. This is, I think, the middle of the main event here. Roman loading up a spear. I couldn't even imagine. Like, I mean, we watched it together, and like, I mean, we had that very visceral reaction to it. I couldn't even imagine being in a stadium with that many people where you're having that same reaction to the GOAT coming out to make the save.
So it's funny, how many times have you guys talked about, and I know when I was on, that said Cena's going to pop up somewhere. So you knew it was going to happen, or you had that idea, but you knew it's going to happen. But when that happens, you're so surprised, and you don't expect it right there. And I say when Jay came out and his music started playing, that's when I stood up and started screaming. I'll go back to that. When I saw the spear off the ramp, we're on the opposite side. So when I see him spear Jimmy, all I see is shoes. The white shoes go up in the air, and they just spear each other into oblivion. Like, I don't know where they went. Are they underneath the ramp? Like, did they miss? I don't know. We don't see anything. So, and then this happens. I scream. Like, you hear the audio go out. That's me. That's me losing my mind. And like I said, you knew that was going to happen, but you get caught up in that moment. Like, holy shit! Like, this is really happening. And oh my God, I never thought in my life I would see a John Cena, which leads into what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Overall, when you think about your trip, especially from a logistics planning standpoint, we know that you'd love to go to WrestleMania again, but is there anything you would do differently as far as planning your trip or anything as far as how your experience went?
Well, the one thing I would do differently is I drove back to Connecticut after the event, so that was tough. So that was like a 2.5 hour drive. So I probably wouldn't do that again.
Sure,
but again, I had work I needed to be for, so I didn't want to miss that time. But I want to be able to immerse myself a little more. We talked about the WWE world and the Superstore and being present at some of the live shows that were done. I know What Culture had a live show on Sunday. Cheap Heat had theirs, Wally Mania that Thursday.
Yep.
Just being there for the entire weekend, that's what I would do differently. Whether I go to the show both nights or NXT one night and one of the nights, I just want to be immersed a little bit more.
Okay.
Makes sense. Well
so
said. It was,
Mr. Cincinnati didn't ask, and I will, because I know you're not going to ask. How cool was it to see Mr. WrestleMania live and in person at WrestleMania?
I wish you wouldn't.
It was kind of anticlimactic. That was probably the worst match of the night. Just being there, the crowd was kind of dead.
No.
I kid.
No.
Look,
No.
Can we?
You hurt my heart.
Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania, and I don't want to hear another damn word about it. Okay.
To you.
All right. Well, if you're
when Cody Rhodes is assembling his Avengers and he grabs the Undertaker and not Shawn Michaels, you cannot tell me he's not Mr. WrestleMania.
And in all seriousness, Mr. WrestleMania is Shawn Michaels. But in all seriousness,
thank you.
I'll go back to when the final boss came out. So I think this is what sparked our initial conversation in law school, Mr. Cincinnati, when my phone rang and it was The Rock's theme song. And
that's great.
Yeah.
And and
I bow to King Chris. That's amazing.
So I have a very special place in my heart for The Rock. Like, I thought I was The Rock growing up. Like, everything that I did wrestling wise, I was The Rock. Everything. I hated Stone Cold. I hated The Big Show. I hated Undertaker because The Rock had feuds with him. So seeing his music hit, I was screaming for Cena. I was crying when The Rock came out. Like, tears were streaming down my face. And so seeing that come through, it was, again, once in a lifetime. I never thought I would see The Rock ever live in my lifetime. And it was just a special moment, seeing him face off with Cena, but also seeing a Rock Bottom live. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
Then the Shield music hits, and I'm looking around like, there's no way that this is happening right now.
Yeah.
I may have been the biggest idiot, and I was looking around in the crowd trying to scan.
Yeah.
Like, is Moxley here?
For half a second. I think everybody kind of did that for just a split second.
So I had that thought, and my stomach just dropped, and I started feeling like nauseous. Like, I was so excited that I started feeling nauseous. The woman next to me, speaking of the camaraderie, she looked at me and I looked at her. We had the same look. She said, "I'm going to throw up. Like, I don't feel good." So we were both looking at each other like, this is amazing. And then we see Seth get Superman punched. And then all of a sudden, I've tried to figure out this excitement. I've seen Joey Chestnut beat the record for hot dogs, and I popped really loud. Like, it was unbelievable sight. I've been at SEC football games. I've been Duke basketball at Cameron Indoor Stadium. I've seen Yankees Red Sox in a playoff atmosphere. The pop and the screams that I heard when a gong went off is
dude
unmatched. Again, you never think you're going to hear it, and you never expect it. I was expecting Austin and the glass shattering and that sort of thing, but hearing that gong, so again, forgive me, I'm very long-winded, but I want to really express this. So I screamed when Cena came out. I cried when The Rock came out. I got nauseous when I heard the Cena or the Shield music. When the Undertaker gong happened, I lost feeling in my legs. I had to sit down. Like, you thought I was crying for The Rock. I was bawling for the Undertaker. So that's why I didn't film it. Like, I couldn't feel my arms. I couldn't feel everything. Everything had left my body, and I was in that moment. And then seeing him choke slam, you're just sitting around when the lights go out again and everybody's gone. You're just looking around. Like, I experience every single human emotion within 5 minutes. And you're exhausted after that. And then all of a sudden he wins, and then you're up again. Oh, man. Seeing your Mr. WrestleMania it was once in a lifetime.
Yeah. Again, the Mr. WrestleMania. Thank you.
Nope. Not the. I mean, you're losing that poll right now. Like, I think, most of our guests are pro Shawn Michaels.
Cody
that's all I'm saying.
Helped me prove that poll. That's all I'm saying.
I wouldn't say that.
Where was Shawn?
Somewhere running NXT or being the number 2 of talent relations.
Yeah.
Not making the run-in save because he got bamboozled the last time, saying, "Oh yeah, Austin and Mick, they're also going to be in ring gear too."
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So
he still probably heard about that one.
Yeah. So don't even, no. Nice try.
And to be fair, he probably didn't know which rock to kick. So.
All right, that's a low blow. That's a low blow. That's a low blow. Let's as gentlemen, as we look back on WrestleMania, biggest WrestleMania of all time, they've smashed every record. Cody has already set records as not even a day into his championship reign. Sold over $1 million worth of merch that weekend.
I bought one.
What's that?
I was one of those. I bought a shirt.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, it's with what he has done already as champion, we're headed to Backlash. I think we're going to determine number 1 contenders tonight on SmackDown. So we're off to the races for this new wrestling year. And before we kind of fully turn focus to that, the last video that we have is indeed of the podcast dad and his favorite WrestleMania moment. So without further ado, Bill, roll that clip.
Hello, everybody. Wrestling Junkies podcast co-host, the podcast dad here. And we were asked to present our favorite WrestleMania moments. Now, when I think of WrestleMania, I do think of Mr. WrestleMania. That is The Undertaker, for those who aren't keen to that idea. But I do think of The Undertaker, and me growing up in the late 90s, I have the Attitude Era on my mind. WrestleMania 28. The end of an era match. Triple H versus The Undertaker inside a Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee. We all had the moment where the super kick into the pedigree, we all thought it was over. The streak was over, but Taker somehow kicked out. And then the lasting image of the 3 at the top of the ramp. Truly an end of an era, even though they all kind of wrestled a little bit more. But when I think of WrestleMania and my favorite moment of all time, that is the one that comes to mind. Guys, thank you for joining us for this amazing journey on the Wrestling Junkies podcast. Please subscribe, and we will continue to grow this community.
Well said, bud. Very well said.
Why are we so close to the camera?
I have no idea.
That's because he did it. He did it vertical, and then the video played horizontal. So that was.
I will tell you, Big Gold looked fantastic in that video.
It's a look.
Couldn't take my eyes off of it.
It's all right. Mine's better still, though. I think that's just.
Well, we point the right way, and then we can talk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know what?
Proving my point again. Number 2. Number 1. Thank you.
You know what? As big of a pain in my ass as you are, there's nobody else that would want to do this podcast with King Chris. There's no offense to that. It's just kind of it just works for us. But we're always happy to have the King grace us with his presence. Before we wrap up today, we do kind of want to get your thoughts. The internet has been talking about it. Tony Khan aired some footage on Wednesday, promptly deleted it on Thursday. What did you think of this move?
I thought this is, I think I threw this in the chat yesterday. This is what a desperate company does. And I think that they saw what weekend that WWE had. And it's like, well, we need some of that. And while the wrestling may be better match by match on AEW, not many people are tuning in. Nobody's going to those shows. So there's a star right now in WWE that used to be here. What do we have on them? It just seemed like a very short-sighted move. And I agreed with you guys completely. Like, what do they do next week? Like, what does this move accomplish? And it just seemed way too petty. It seemed like nobody was really clamoring for this. And I get that CM Punk really spoke about it with the Ariel Helwani interview, and they maybe felt some type of way about that and wanted this to be like a clapback. But the footage was grainy, and it proved CM Punk's point. Like, it didn't seem that bad. It made him seem like he was actually telling the truth, and it makes CM Punk actually look better, and it's going to raise his status. And it kind of, I don't know what that accomplished or where it goes from here, but the fact that it was taken off kind of makes it seem like, oh, well, we messed up. Almost, I'll relate this to J. Cole right now. You diss Kendrick, own it. And don't take it back and say, I'm sorry. No, you own it. You may have made a mistake, but own that mistake and build off of it. And I just think that it seems desperate to me.
Yeah, I think that's about the description of it. I mean, because and we talked about this yesterday too. I mean, the follow-up is, what is this going to lead to a pop in pay-per-view buys? I mean, doesn't seem like that's the case, because Tony didn't tweet anything about that metric, but he did tweet about the ratings. But if you look at the rest of the night, they went down after that footage was aired. Case in point, Collision's going to be here tomorrow night, or at least over at NKU. And I mean, Podcast Dad's tired, probably not going to go, but like, this didn't do anything to further sell me on, I need to be in the arena for that event. I can watch it at home tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
Or Sunday.
And the Battle of the Belts lineup isn't very good. Like, you're not enticing me to go.
Yeah.
Like, if this was a WWE event, as of right now, I probably would have gone, because I probably would have got to see Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Like, right now,
with that belt. Yeah.
What's the biggest name I get to see on that Collision is probably Danielson, and he's in a tag match. So I don't really have a ton of interest, especially going to Dynamite when we went and there wasn't anybody there. It was Jade Cargill's last match in AEW, and about 700 people saw it because they had all left by then. Like, I don't want to sit through 3 hours of wrestling, not that wrestling at the moment. Yeah. So they need to figure it out. They need to figure it out.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like I said, this is kind of their first real foray into monthly pay-per-view storytelling. If you're going to make this incident from 8 months ago, in which one of the parties is no longer under contract with the company and the other is straight up gone, there needs to be a payoff to this. Now, I will say, to play devil's advocate here, Jack Perry does now have the #1 selling shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. It's all sold out, the Scapegoat shirt. So, like, it's like, okay, cool. If that popped for him to make some money off of it, great. There's one benefit that came out. This company made a few bucks off of it. But is the revenue from those shirts going to be greater than the revenue that they could have gotten, or any additional spike in pay-per-view buys? Which, I mean, if I had to guess, it probably wasn't much of a spike. But
they're probably going to buy a New Japan show because Jack Perry's on that show. Like, what does that do for you? Nothing.
Yeah, because I think they got the Windy City show this weekend.
Yeah,
right? I think Mox is.
And Jack Perry's wrestling on it.
Yeah, so Mox, I guess, got a haircut at the same salon I go to. He was there a day before I was, so that was pretty funny that my timing was off by a day. But he was in good spirits, getting ready to go to Japan, from what I heard. So or not Japan, Chicago.
Called a salon.
Yeah, I do call it a salon. It's called 18-8 Men's Salon. Yeah, thank you.
I go to a barber.
Yeah. Good for you. I go to a salon.
I actually go to Sports Clips.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. 150 episodes down, and the good vibes keep on coming. I mean, come on, we're here 3-4 days a week. Always here to have a good time, be positive. There's been some toxicity on the internet today. So shout out to Javon Evans in NXT, because if you didn't watch his debut match last week, you're living under a rock. That dude's the truth, and some people just don't like that. So fuck them.
Touch grass.
Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, thanks guys so much. We will be back on Monday. 2 great interviews coming up. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. All that good stuff. King Chris, always a pleasure. Podcast.
All hail
Dad.
my fellow kings.
Okay. Good to see you. Podcast Dad. Cheers to 150 episodes. I'm going to be nice towards the end here. Okay.
Cheers.
All right. Good to see you guys. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching the Wrestling Junkies podcast.